Very good evening to one and all. I am Balaji, and I really hope that all of you are up with a cup of hot coffee because we are now going to dig deep into one of the hottest topics in the industry today, which is cloud transformation. And in this particular session, we will try to find an answer to a very interesting question, right? When an organization is trying to adopt cloud technologies, is it an ordeal for that organization? Which means, is it very challenging or it is trivial? That means it's easy. Okay. And why we are even talking of being trivial? So for a moment, let's reflect upon the way cloud technologies have integrated into our day-to-day life very seamlessly, right? Let me give you some examples. None of us probably today can survive without, say, a Netflix or an Amazon Prime or Hotstar, right? All these OTT services are heavily banking upon cloud technology, right? Our various voice assistants, Google, Siri, Alexa, they're all based on analytic solutions which work based on cloud technology, right? And the particular context for this session is on the banking and capital markets, BCM. So a mobile banking application, for example, is something that we use day in and day out. And a lot of that works based on a cloud backbone. So as you can see from all these examples, very consciously, subconsciously, whichever way you call it, we are using a lot of cloud services in our day-to-day life, right? Probably sometimes even without realizing. So that at some points can make us feel that probably should be trivial. So let's see in the rest of the session whether it's trivial or it's ordeal. But before I jump in, quickly to clarify a few terms, right? So we will be talking about the context of the BCM organizations that we call as banks, and they are our clients as DXC Luxoft. And then the clients of these banks we refer to as end clients. So just to keep that in mind as we move along. Okay, so let's look at what are the key drivers for a bank to look at adopting cloud technologies today, right? So I already gave an example of, say, a mobile banking application or Netflix and so on kind of services. Today, we know that there is an inherent expectation that these services should work no matter which part of the world we are. And they should work with our subscription, our credentials. And the only requirement is we should have internet connectivity, right? So apply the same thing to a BCM context, right? So banks which are delivering products and services to their clients, the end clients, that expectation prevails with these end clients as well, right? So the banks have to ensure that they have a worldwide reach. Their products can work from anywhere in the world, and they also need to think about scalability, right? I'll just give a simple example, right? If you take a simple Netflix service, for example, usually you can see that on weekdays, the usage can really surge around the evening and late nights, whereas it may be on the lower side in the morning and afternoons or maybe early evenings when we are quite busy with our work and we may probably not be doing Netflix, right? So there can be multiple fluctuations, and in the usage patterns, the banks have to ensure they meet them, but at the same time, they have to be economic. It has to be cost effective, right? The second aspect is today we are very used to omnipresent business applications, which means that the user experience, the emotional connect that we have with these applications, no matter whether we use them from a desktop, a laptop, a mobile, a tablet, and so on, we expect a consistent experience, right? For example, in our mobile banking application. So the focus on digital user experience is very high, and banks have to consistently meet these expectations to make the customers happy. Now, once we have such omnipresent services, the reliability and resiliency aspects go up a lot. So imagine if, let's say, an Amazon shopping app is down even for a few minutes in a day. You can see how much of a disaster it would be, right? Extend the same thought to our mobile banking application on our smartphones. If it is down even for a few minutes, especially when we as clients would like to do some critical transactions on our account, it could be a disaster, right? It severely impacts the credibility of the bank. So reliability is very important. Resiliency is very important. There has to be auto failovers, instant failovers, right? So that the services don't suffer. And at the same time, COVID has taught us a lesson that gone are those days when such products and services can be delivered from within an office building, right? So they have actually pushed to the greatest extent or extremes the need for omnipresence and access from anywhere in the world, like work from home, right? There were some questions around work from home as well in the questions. Okay, now the other important aspect is the moment we become global, naturally we have a strong focus on compliance and security. Think of all the wars that are going on, say, between the government and Twitter, with the Facebooks, the Googles. I think data protection is of prime importance, no matter whether we are speaking of banking as a sector or other industries, right? So banks have to ensure that their products are compliant and secure for users to use. Now, while banks are trying to deliver all these features in their products and services, they also have to focus on their IT backbone. These are the IT teams and the IT infrastructure, right? And that would be a larger focus for us in the rest of this session. So the IT infrastructure, the IT ecosystem, they have to continuously focus to ensure it is simplified. So what we mean by that is today, the ability of a bank to deliver innovative features to the end clients depends on how efficient their IT backbone is. And that's what we call as time to market to deliver features to clients. And this is where banks have to think of adopting technologies like DevOps and so on to ensure that they have a good IT backbone, which is efficient. And finally, in the extremely competitive world today, it's very important that banks consistently innovate. They have to be innovative in the way they deliver features across multiple platforms with a consistent experience. They have to be innovative in the way they can predict the needs of their clients by leveraging some analytics, so on and so forth, right? So in summary, these are multiple drivers, which I would say define the essence of how a bank has to do its business. And I think that pretty much applies to even other industries. And the good news is that there is an answer or a solution for all these requirements in cloud solutions. So let's see how it works. So let's peek for a moment into typically how the enterprise landscape for a bank looks like. Okay, and I would like to mention here that we cannot compare banks with Amazon's, Google's, Apple's of the world, because these organizations were born as technology leaders. But banks are not technology leaders. They're not supposed to be technology leaders, right? They are business leaders. So banks have grown over ages, years, to deliver business functions, business products to clients. So it is quite natural that they would be having legacy technologies in their landscape. So as you can see in the top here, there are many banks that still struggle with physical on-prem data centers, siloed data across various departments, mainframe or strongly coupled monolithic kind of applications. The users within the bank, the employees who are more used to desktop kind of experience rather than mobile, right? One example is the concept of trading. Many of the banks basically in the capital market space, they have their employees who are traders and they consistently trade, right? And of course, we all trade. So today, probably trading from a mobile application is common, but there are banks where still we could have these traders who are more used to desktop kind of experience. Many of the banks use traditional business intelligence tools like Cognos or business objects and so on. And the business model and organization structure in many of the banks are still traditional. And I'll touch a little more on this in the next slide when we talk about what actually we mean by the ordeal in this transformation, right? So this is what we can expect in a technology landscape for a bank. And already you would have started realizing why it seems to be more an ordeal rather than trivial, right? Because it's not easy to modernize this landscape to be able to leverage the modern cloud services, right? But more or less, most of the banks have started realizing that they better proactively transform. Otherwise, they will be forced to because of the competition which is getting ahead in this space, right? So before we look into how this ordeal exactly pans out for a bank when they try to transform into cloud technology adoption, let's take a quick look at typically what the journey looks like for a bank. from today in their current legacy state to the state where they have adopted cloud. What's the journey? And one point I want to highlight here is, some of you may think, why don't we just call this as migration? The more common term is cloud migration. Why we are calling transformation? So as we go through this session, you will realize that cloud adoption calls for a major organization change management within a bank, because it requires the business processes to transform, the technical processes to transform, the architecture to transform, the ways of working to transform. And that's the most interesting part, right? And that's why we call it as a transformation rather than a migration. So what's the first step in the transformation journey? It is very important for banks to identify what are their business goals. And I'll spend a bit more time on this in the next slide. But for now, just understand that the banks have to think about what they're trying to achieve as a business. And I think many of these drivers we saw in the previous slide. And while banks start reflecting and we help them with our experience to identify what are their business goals, it's also important for us to understand their current landscape in more detail. And there are many solutions from these large cloud vendors like Amazon, Google, Azure, and so on, which I will refer to in a bit, which will help us assess their application portfolio. Because end of the day, this is important for you to note that when we transform to cloud, essentially what we are doing is we are migrating, or we can say deploying their applications onto cloud platforms, right? And many times you'll also hear this term called as workload. So why we call it as a workload is because it's not just the application, but the application with its ecosystem, the network, the storage, the databases, the platforms, and so on, right? So at the end of the first stage, we have identified their objectives. We have identified what are the critical success factors to meet their objectives. The next step, obviously, is to analyze their application portfolio and design the right target state for the bank. And what we mean by the right target state is essentially what will be the configuration of this cloud infrastructure in terms of very rudimentary aspects like network, storage, servers, databases, technologies, the monitoring aspects, so on and so forth, right? So we have to arrive at that target state. And this we do by analyzing this portfolio. And this analysis also delivers something called as a 6R analysis, which I will cover in the next slide, which basically tells for the existing applications how they would look like in the target state and what we need to do to move them to the target state. So once the design is complete, another important aspect before we reach that completion is we have to choose the right cloud vendor, right? So basically, these are the managed services vendors, as I mentioned earlier, Amazon, Google, Microsoft Azure, and they take care of a lot of the infrastructure and the ecosystem requirements in the target state. We have to look at the objectives of the bank and map the right cloud vendor. And many times what we have seen is actually one single vendor may not be able to fulfill all the objectives, and the banks may end up getting into what we call a multi-cloud environment, where they have to engage on solutions from multiple cloud vendors to meet their objectives. So whatever it is, we arrive at a design. The next step is we have to build this target architecture, right? And a very important aspect here is we can never say that we will get to the exactly correct target state right in the first go. And that's because the banks have a lot of expectations, as you saw in the key drivers, around security, reliability, performance, latency, the rich solutions that cloud vendors provide. And it's simply not possible to predict how the target state will behave along these aspects right up front. So that's why in this core architecture build and iteration, we have to iterate building of this target state. And what we do many a times is we do some proof of concepts where, let's say they have 100 applications to migrate. We may take 5 of them, 10 of them as a good representation of that portfolio. We may actually migrate them to the target state first, see whether they're meeting the business requirements. There are some gaps. We go back to the drawing board to redesign. And this is something very common, which happens in this journey to transform to cloud. Now, once we have done this iteration and we have arrived at the right size for all the various infrastructure resource requirements, then we have to think about deploying. Now, before we go to the deploy stage, one of the things that we strongly encourage banks to do is adopt infrastructure as a code approach. These can be achieved by leveraging products like Terraform, Ansible, Packer, which in the simplest terms, allow us to define the configuration of a data center as a simple script, something like even JSON, right? It helps us provision this infrastructure as a code and then version control them and maintain them. And this is very useful because it actually gives it a very, very efficient look at the end of it, rather than the way we look at physical infrastructure, right? So once this design is done, the build is done, we go on to deploy, and this is where the actual migration of the workloads happen. And the 6R that I mentioned about how the applications would look like in the target state, we have to implement that model, and we'll dig a bit deeper into that next. Once the deployment has happened, the workloads or the applications are migrated to the target state, then we have to look at the productionization of the same. Now, one very important aspect before we move to the production is that the deployment actually involves a lot of focus around leveraging innovative solutions from cloud vendors for automating this migration. And the other aspect is when there are multiple cloud solutions involved, we have to look at various solutions to manage this multi-cloud environment in the target state, right? So after those things have been taken care, we then move to the post-production operations and governance. And this is essentially the continuous monitoring of this target state, this target infrastructure, target ecosystem, continuously look for optimization opportunities, automate the provisioning of infrastructure, the scale in and scale out as required, generate the performance reports, observe the network performance, application performance. There are so many aspects, right? Manage the incidents that are happening, and so on and so forth, right? So when we actually design the target architecture, we also have to keep in mind the operations and governance. So this is a quick snapshot of how typically the journeys. Probably I have given you a 50,000 view. Each of these are theories and practicals and so on themselves, but I think this should have given you a quick perspective. So now let's look at what's the ordeal, right? So we understand how the landscape looks like. We understood, at least at a high level, the journey, how it looks like. What are the challenges? Let's look at that. The very first challenge is that banks always struggle to understand that their technology goals around cloud adoption has to be driven by business goals, right? So for example, if a bank today comes and says that I want to be a cloud first bank, right? Everything and anything that I do, I have cloud technology, it can fail, right? Because the banks have to look at what they're trying to achieve. And I'll give you 2-3 quick examples, right? If a bank is focused more on delivering rich mobile applications to their clients on multiple smartphone and mobile platforms, they should leverage the edge computing solutions available from the cloud vendors, right? That's the priority, right? If a bank is focused more around IT simplification, that means they're more worried about streamlining and increasing the efficiency of their IT backbone, they have to focus more around the DevOps and automation solutions that are provided by the cloud vendors, right? So in summary, the bank has to really focus on what's their business goal. And I'm not saying that not all these are important, right? But any bank at any point of time is living with a constrained budget. They don't have extensive budget to achieve all this in a big bang approach. So they have to prioritize. And that's what we help them. We help them identify what's the key business goal of top priority to start with, and then map the corresponding cloud solutions, which will give them the maximum benefit. Cultural change. Yeah, I think as I was mentioning earlier as well, many of the banks still operate in traditional model or ways of working. So let me give you some examples, right? Today, we talk a lot about agile ways of working, where business has to be closely working with IT to deliver products to the end clients of the bank. Even today, that doesn't necessarily happen. And I can give you a couple of examples, right? There are still long drawn approval processes, for example, in banks to provision infrastructure, right? To promote code from one environment to the other, right? Even today, business many times feels that if they have a requirement, they should give that requirement to IT and wait for IT to deliver, rather than focusing on self-service. For example, many of the business users want to look at various business reports, right? Today, we live in an age where self-visualization or self-service analytics is the name of the game, which is delivered by many of the products like Microsoft Azure, Power BI, or Amazon QuickSight, and so on, right? But there are many banks where the users are simply not tuned to this kind of a self-service approach, right? So there are many such traditional behaviors from banks, and this needs help in doing an organization transformation. And that's where again we bring our expertise as DXC Luxoft and help banks through educations, through various other means, which we can help them come over this cultural change. Another very important aspect of culture is there is an inherent fear, right? In the pre-cloud stage, the entire infrastructure is within the bank. So they know the static IP, for example, right? Their IT teams have complete control on the infrastructure. The moment they have to think about moving to a cloud vendor, they know the very moment that, oh, now it's becoming a managed services. It could become like a black box, right? So they have the fear of security vulnerabilities, right? They have multiple fears in terms of loss of control. They have fear in terms of data protection and breaches. So these are all the various cultural changes. But let me tell you, we'll also speak in the next slide a bit more. There are such wonderful solutions available from the cloud vendors today where all such concerns can be addressed. Okay. Another key challenge is that many of the banks say, I am very monolithic and complex today. I don't think I have enough funds to be able to manage this modernization, right? There are a multitude of solutions of how we can help banks even modernize a very legacy estate, including mainframe kind of estates, and still adopt cloud technologies. We'll touch upon that, right? And basically that also has an implication around cost. Banks feel that it may be very expensive. There may not be a return on investment. So let's not go for cloud transformation, right? We already spoke about the challenges around security, reliability. Let me spend a few seconds on complex hybrid target state. So I have seldom seen a bank which can go 100% on cloud, right? I think many of you will appreciate that banks live in a severe regulatory state. There are many regulatory obligations from various governance bodies, other bodies that banks have to comply. And because of that, many times they are not able to go 100% on cloud. So the target state for many of the banks would always be a hybrid state, right? Which would be a combination of on-prem applications and on-cloud applications. And this could make many of the banks hesitate to transform, right? Another challenge is that today it's very overwhelming for anybody, not just banks, to look at the number of function as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, function as a service, whatnot, right? From every cloud vendor, right? So it can be very overwhelming. It's an explosion of services. They may not be able to decide exactly what fits their bill, what they really need as a bank, right? I have already spoken about data complexity in terms of silos and so on. And we also spoke about multi-cloud, where it may become challenging to manage a multi-cloud environment, right? So in summary, these are all, I would say, the mental blocks or the initial hurdles that banks would face before they can decide as an organization to adopt cloud. So let's see what are the solutions for these. For each of these challenges, we have multiple solutions, and this is what helps us move towards trivial from what the previous slide indicated to you as ordeal. When it comes to deciding the right business goals, the very first step is we cannot separate business from IT. So it needs techno-functional capability, and that's what we as DXC Luxoft are proud about, right? So we combine the banking and capital markets domain experience along with technology experience, and we are able to educate and guide our customers, the banks, in terms of how to look at a combined perspective to decide on the right business goals. Apart from that, we also enjoy a lot of experience from our various engagements in the BCM space. We have actually done enterprise cloud transformation for many of our clients. So we bring those insights, those lessons learned and best practices. And we also have very good engagements with directly the cloud vendors like the Amazon, Google, and so on. And that experience, that knowledge also helps us provide the right insights to the banks to arrive at the right business goals and then the mapped technology goals. Of course, I already mentioned that we live in a world of digital user experience. So we also have a lot of blueprints with us. For example, for a trading application, right, from any platform, we do have accelerators and ready-made blueprints which can be customized for banks, right? So in summary, all this experience that we have can help banks arrive at the right business goals mapped to the technology goals. Now let's focus on how to address this current complex monolithic state. The very first step is we have to look at certain core design principles. And the very first step in that sub-step, so to say, is that we have to take a decision together with the bank, which of the applications are going to remain on-prem, which can move to cloud. And this depends on various factors in terms of the most important being that if we have to manage a hybrid target state, which means some applications on-prem, some applications on cloud, the cloud vendors have specified certain requirements or prerequisites to have such a hybrid architecture. For example, if you look at Microsoft Azure, right, they have a solution for this hybrid state called as Azure Stack. So what Azure Stack says is that there are certain standard hardware vendors like Dell, IBM, and the physical server infrastructure or the virtual server infrastructure for on-prem, that certain versions are specifically highlighted by Microsoft and only those are supported, right? So the client has to ensure that their on-prem applications are deployed on such hardware, right? Similarly, there are specifications on what versions of operating systems on-prem can be supported by the cloud vendors if we have to operate them in a hybrid architecture, right? So long as those kind of decisions are taken and that is implemented on-prem, the cloud vendors seamlessly support a combined hybrid architecture. The other important aspect is that if there is a legacy application which cannot be modernized, cannot be moved to cloud, many times what we recommend is just move the front end, the authentication service as a microservice to cloud. And then once, whether it's an interfacing application or it's a direct user, once the user is authenticated, the actual mid and back functionality is delivered by the on-prem application, right? So these are the different ways, but this decision has to be taken. And this is what we called as 6R. If I quickly cover the 6R, basically an on-prem application today could either be retained on-prem, and I have explained just now how it will work with cloud, or we could retire. That means just kill the application. It cannot survive in the target state. Or we could rehost, which is the best scenario, where we just pick, lift and shift and put it on cloud. Then that leaves us with 3 other R's, right? One, we may re-platform. That means we may convert an application or migrate an application from mainframe, for example, to Java, or we may convert the database technology from current Oracle to an Aurora serverless on AWS and so on, right? That is what we call as re-platform. Or we could refactor the application, which means that we don't change the business functionality, but we will have to modernize it, containerize it, make it microservices architecture driven, and so on and so forth, right? And then they can be migrated to cloud. Or we may have to re-architect it, which means we'll have to build the application grounds up. So this is what we call as a 6R analysis, and that will help us decide what stays on-prem, what goes to cloud, and then we can have the hybrid target state, right? So in that process, I've also covered a few other design principles, like they have to be evolving, redundant, scalable, and so on. The primary focus there being that these applications have to be microservices architecture driven and as much as possible containerized. Now let's look at how do we take all these decisions, right? That's where the initial assessment phase I showed in the previous slide, the discovery framework, that comes in. And there are some excellent tools from AWS, for example, called the AWS Migration Hub, or Azure, which is called as Azure Migrate. What they actually do is they discover the current on-prem infrastructure, the number of servers, the storage, database, the couplings between the data and the applications, and so on. And they will give that report, which can be analyzed for us to take all these decisions, on-prem versus cloud, modernization, and so on, right? We already spoke about the lean architecture of microservices, containerization. I think a lot of these points I covered. We have to leverage the serverless architectures that function as a service, which is very, very helpful to provide a managed services function to the bank so that they don't need to focus on the infrastructure provisioning. They just focus on core business, right? Those kind of frameworks should be leveraged. We also spoke about the API enablement and data modeling solution. So in summary, a whole lot of focus goes towards discovering the current portfolio, understanding their monolithic and complex state, and taking this final decision in terms of how we have the on-prem versus cloud target state. The next challenge is around security and reliability. And I will not go into a great depth in the interest of time, but one thing I would like to tell you that all the cloud vendors provide multiple depths of defense, right? Right from the network access through, say, a virtual private connection or a dedicated pipe from the on-prem to the data center of the cloud provider. Right from there, we go into firewalls, we go into application level access, we go into various other access controls at various levels, which will ensure that there is security, right? And then from a reliability perspective, there are multiple auto healing functions available from various clouds, where the moment one existing server goes down, automatically a replicated server comes up and seamlessly restores the service. And this also can be leveraged for load balancing. Coming to the explosion of services, at DXC Luxoft, we have created a specialized framework to assess the readiness of a client for cloud migration and to assess which would be the right vendor for them, be it Amazon, Google, Microsoft. And this is based on a 7-parameter assessment, right? So we look at various aspects such as, say, the support model provided by the cloud vendor, the architecture of the cloud vendor, the various other features that are available towards compliance, and so on and so forth. Okay, so based on that, we can very clearly do an objective assessment of how the cloud vendor fits the purpose for the bank and then choose that vendor. Cultural change perspective. So we spoke about what kind of cultural changes have to be brought in to adopt cloud. And I think the best way in our experience is to do an organization change management to establish what we call a cloud operation model, where a lot of agile thinking has to come in, self-service thinking has to come in, the trust on cloud vendors of doing a good job in terms of security and so on has to come in. So it's a journey. But I think once this kind of consulting help is given to the banks, they are able to achieve that cultural change. Okay, many of the banks may not adopt the transformation because they feel it's very expensive or costly, and that's why the very first step is we help them do the total cost of ownership analysis. And then a lot of efficiency tools are there which helps to make this whole transformation very efficient, right? There are multiple migration automation tools, right? There are tools and services from, say, Amazon or Azure, which can help us replicate thousands of servers overnight from on-prem on cloud, right? Or migrate databases from on-prem to cloud. So there are many such features available which can be leveraged, and the cost of this transformation can be optimized. I think we already spoke about the complex and hybrid target state solutions. We also spoke about data complexity. One point I would like to highlight here is that, again, cloud vendors provide many interesting solutions for, say, data encryption at rest and in transit, data residency, say, for example, regions like Switzerland or Singapore, which have their own data confidentiality requirements, masking solutions, so on and so forth, right? Many solutions available, and that can be addressed. And finally, when it comes to multi-cloud orchestration, again, there are fantastic products in the market today. One example is RightScale, which can, just with a simple web interface, abstract a lot of these underlying different cloud platforms, right? So, for example, if the bank and the IT team in the bank needs to provision a server from this web interface, it will look like a server, but underlying it could be an Amazon EC2, it could be an Azure virtual machine, and so on, right? So a lot of this abstraction is provided. So in summary, we have seen what is the ordeal, a lot of challenges, but we have also seen now that there are a rich set of solutions combined with our experience as DXC Luxoft and the solutions provided by these various cloud vendors that can help trivialize to a large extent this transformation journey and help a bank transform. Okay, if the audience here wishes to dirty their hands in cloud transformation programs and projects, this is a snapshot of what are the hottest technologies and skills that you would need to upskill yourself. And I would say this is not all comprehensive. This is an ever-growing list. But in our experience, we feel that these are the most popular. Okay. You may have a question, what kind of roles you can explore if you want to take up cloud transformation programs. I think some of these roles are already known to you, like Scrum Master, BA, and so on. But there are some specific cloud roles as well. like a cloud architect, cloud developer, cloud security architect, and so on. And these are like specialization on cloud technologies. And if you can gain these skills either through certifications from the cloud vendors or through your own hands-on experience, that can definitely help you get into the cloud space.